I'm your cult boyfriend. We're talking about Roswell season one today. I'm excited. I really like it. I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of cool ideas. The showrunner is Jason Katims. Jason Katims developed this show. Jason Katims is, along with Peter Berg, one of the guys, one of the masterminds behind Friday Night Lights. Jason Katims definitely gets teen drama, teen television. And we've talked about Friday Night Lights on this channel. I already like Roswell more than Friday Night Lights. I had a couple issues with Friday Night Lights, but Jason Katims, I'm reasonably impressed with what he was able to accomplish with Roswell. Another person who has a lot of involvement creatively with Roswell is David Nutter. We've also talked about David Nutter a lot on this channel because I went a bit obsessive crazy with a film of his called Disturbing Behavior with James Marsden, Katie Holmes, and Nick Stahl. It went a bit fucking nuts and covered it a bunch of times. I love it. So really what we're getting here is some Friday Night Lights, some there's disturbing behavior here, and it's definitely X-Files. What it made me wonder more than anything else, Roswell, obviously it's a science fiction uh, teen drama. It centers around a group of three aliens who are trying to figure out where they come from, who they are, the typical teenage questions that we all have, like who are we, what's our purpose, do we have a destiny, do we have a grand design, who am I supposed to love, is there a soul mate, was I designed to love a specific person? These are all wonderful things that Roswell tackles, and I think tackles fully. But what it got me thinking about more than anything was like this was late 90s, so 99. What about the 90s? And you can leave this in the comments too if you have a theory about this. What about the 90s made like a kind of sci-fi television explosion occur? Like what exactly was it? I have my own theories, and if you need me to provide some reasoning behind why I think there was a sci-fi explosion, within television, I would tell you that three very successful Star Trek shows, The X-Files being a massive hit, and like shows like Roswell even appealing to the WB faction of hip teenagers. I would call that kind of a sci-fi explosion, and I'm sure there's other shows that I'm just not listing here. There definitely are. And film received kind of the same sci-fi explosive treatment, kind of, not as much as television. That's why it's like unique, right? And you can't just tell me that sci-fi is always popular because it's not always popular like this, right? Like to this degree. So what about the 90s kind of fostered a massive creative and public interest within conspiracy theories and aliens? Is it that it's almost like a post-secrecy age? Like we are aware that our government are doing completely shady things? You know, the Clinton administration, is it just completely not trusting the government at all? Is it the fact that like 90s people of the 90s had this kind of anxiety as they approached the new millennium, as if something big was about to happen, as if something big should have happened, like some sort of alien encounter, a public alien encounter, that is? Is it that the internet, and this is probably my biggest thing here, the internet was like exploding, right? That's the explosion of the internet. That's the introduction of the internet into the popular zeitgeist, into making us all cyborgs eventually, right? Like it was the introduction of the internet itself. Perhaps that sort of futurism, that sort of futuristic quality within the human condition was making us think very differently. Or maybe there's just this natural human inclination to wanting to think that we're not alone. I know that like all human beings are lonely, so no human being wants to be alone and want to feel part of a community. But I guess maybe human beings as a whole have this kind of characteristic of I don't want to be alone in this universe. And I think it does go along with the internet idea because the internet was like a bunch of information and misinformation coming at you all at once, and conspiracy theory websites along with porn websites, I think is what popularized the internet or made it at all useful when it first started. That kind of distillation, confluence of conspiracy and boners. So with Roswell, you get the X-Files meets Dawson's Creek, you know, which isn't to make Roswell sound derivative. I think it's fairly unique and original, but it is fun seeing our standard archetypes, our standard postmodern teen drama archetypes interacting with things that you would normally find in the X-Files. If we remove the literalism of these kids are aliens and look at it metaphorically, there's a lot of cool stuff there. Max, Michael, and Isabel, we can view it as kind of extremely dark and pessimistic. The government is out to exploit, torture, and murder teenagers for simply trying to live a life outside of their own predestined roles. I think there's a lot of coded language for queerness. I think there's a queer subtext to the piece as well. You have this group of kids who are all trying to come to terms with who they are and figure out who they are, not only emotionally but or physically but sexually and romantically as well, and some of the conversations that they have with other people feel like coming out. They feel like coming out scenarios. And the fact that they are so secretive about it and know that everyone will treat them differently afterwards as not only pariahs, but as threats, terroristic ones at that. And I'm aware that they rebooted this show. Actually, I think Julie Plec, who did the Vampire Diaries, was pretty instrumental in the reboot. And you know, I have mostly a love-hate relationship with her. I thought she did fairly well on most of the Vampire Diaries, and then on a great deal of it, she did uh, miserably. But I know that she was instrumental in the reboot. And I know in the reboot they do make the queer subtext part of the text of the piece. So like I think that Alex and Michael are gay in the reboot, which is fine, which is like which means that I'm not I'm not grasping at straws. I'm not shadow boxing over here analytically. There is definitely a queer subtext to the piece. So let's just go characters. Let's just talk about characters and hopefully we'll end up talking about some really cool things. I mean, overall, I really enjoyed myself. Is it a brilliant show? Well, it's nowhere to the level of a Dawson's Creek. It's nowhere to the level of a One Tree Hill, and definitely nowhere near Gossip Girl. If you don't know, I think Gossip Girl is the greatest work of art ever made, and this doesn't even come close to scratching the surface of Gossip Girl's genius. It's better than Buffy season one. You know, I think it's better than Friday Night Lights season one, and brilliant is like a pretty big word to use, but the arcs that were completed, the themes that were fully explored in the first season, I'm pretty impressed by. Like every character gets a full arc, basically. And every theme gets properly treated and examined. Extraordinarily competent. It's above competent. I really enjoyed myself. It's very good. Hopefully seasons 2 and 3 will be just a little bit better, and I can tell you that it's like masterful, but not quite yet. But who cares? It's a great show. I had a visitor from another planet. Max. Max is really cool. I like Max. Max is our postmodern brat hero. The core philosophy of Roswell is really conveyed through Max. Um, I think Max is an excellent character. We see Max fall in love with Liz. We see Max's dynamics with his sister Isabel kind of strengthen and change. We see his dynamic with Michael grow and get frustrated and ultimately grow stronger as well. We see Max kind of live his life existentially. You know, he is a pure existentialist. And that's what's most perfect about Max. He also befriends people like Alex and Maria as well, and even Kyle to a certain degree. Per. This is going to be so distracting. You're going to be so distracting. But the show, when it's at its most philosophically interesting, is when we're focusing on Max's resolve, on the fact that he refuses to be limited by anything destiny, prophecy. He doesn't care for it. Or at least he's trying so desperately to rebel against it. And that's what makes him a postmodern brat because he's rejecting a grand narrative, beyond grand. He is rejecting a cosmic narrative. He's rejecting a nearly biblical one. He has lines like, I'm not going to do or live my life. I'm not going to do what any book tells me to. I'm not going to live my life according to what any book says. Very difficult not to read biblically into that subtextually. Low, 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 low. Keep saying it's our life. We make the choices. We are the masters of our destinies, the writers of the future. Gotta get rid of you, Cat. You are distracting me so much. Hold on, guys. Show gets very interesting when a fourth alien shows up named Tess, who Max can't help but feel like he's completely drawn to because he's like engineered, biologically engineered to be completely infatuated over this woman, over this young girl. And he can't help himself. It's a physical involuntary sexual and romantic reaction to seeing Tess, even though he's choosing, like he wants to love Liz, but there's this thing called destiny. There's this thing called grand design that he's rebelling against, rejecting the grand narrative, the cosmic narrative. And it's very difficult for him, but he seems to be the one putting in the most effort. We see Michael, we see Isabel kind of trying to, but it's more comedic. There's nothing truly comedic about the way that Max is rejecting his destiny. And I think rejecting destiny is not only virtuous, but entirely heroic. I think Max is an excellent character, portrayed beautifully well. Because when you're a teenager, you feel like you are, everything's preordained. You feel like you are boxed in, limited, categorized as if some shadowy hand, either a shadow government or anything, any kind of metaphorical thing we could put here is kind of guiding your steps. You know, circumstance, privilege, anything, sexuality, anything is kind of determining your will, right? And Max is rejecting that cosmic narrative. And that's what makes it so interesting because this is like a problem that a lot of postmodern characters have. It's an existentialist uh, dilemma that I think every human being goes through at one point, at one point or another. And what Jason Katims is doing within Roswell is he's taking this problem and he's making it entirely cosmic. He's extending the existential nausea that Jean-Paul Sartre talked about, and he's extending it to the fucking galaxy. He's throwing it all the way out into the Milky Way, far into deep space, so that everyone feels existentially nauseous. But there's a character like Max who is rebelling against that and rejecting it, and I really do buy the love that he has with Liz. One of the best parts of the show is the obvious chemistry that Liz and Max share, that they have, that they seem to effortlessly be able to convey to the audience. I love Liz. Liz is fabulous. Liz is so fucking cute and adorable. And Jerry Appleby is such a great actor because there's so much pathos within her performance. I hate seeing her cry or be vulnerable because it actually is aching to watch. Like it hurts. It hurts. She's so good and you care so much about her. I just thought she gave a phenomenal performance, especially as being like the impetus or the shot heard round the world, like the fuse that is lit. This entire story of Max ultimately taking control of his own destiny, rejecting the grand narrative that has been pre-planned for him, or at least trying to, because that's the problem with postmodernism is that it's ultimately mostly hopeless, but you should still fight anyway. One must imagine both Sisyphus and Max Evans happy. Is her getting shot at the Crashdown Cafe and Max using his powers to save her. That starts everything. And in the final episode of the season, Liz is like, "Your life ended the day you exposed yourself by saving my life." And he's like, "No, that's when it started. That's when I started making true decisions, not living in existential fear. That's when I started making true decisions and actually living life itself, because life itself is all about the unexpected, at least purely experiencing life itself." Isabel, Katherine Heigl, I love you. Marry me, please. I love you, Katherine Heigl. You're so amazing on this show. Okay, that's the first thing that blew my mind was what they did with Isabel here. They all have like alien powers. I'm not sure if they all share them, but they all have like a primary one that they do. Like Max is a healer. It seems like Michael is more lethal, so like a killer, enforcer sort of. And Isabel, her power is the ability to enter others' dreams. She can enter dreams of other people to spy on their subconscious. And this makes her a hyper literal dream girl, and that blows my mind. That blows my mind. Oh my God, that is ridiculous, and I fucking love it. Yeah, Katherine Heigl's super sexy, and this show is making this character Isabel into an actual dream girl. I was just so floored by the audacity of it, of the metaphor. It's amazing. The physical metaphor, the physical poetry of it all. I thought it was just so audacious. honestly. And Katherine Heigl's great here. I hope they give her some more interesting things to do in the second season. But what she was able to do in the first, I thought was fabulous. She's this kind of glacial beauty that you just gravitate towards. The camera loves her, the cinema loves her, television loves her. You just want to be around her. I thought she was just so excellent. Max is my favorite character of the show philosophically, but the one who is definitely the most captivating is Isabel. You can't take your eyes off her. I thought she was great. I thought that the narrative tried to have her be overshadowed by not only Michael and Max, but also Tess when she eventually showed up as well. Uh, no, I want to put a huge spotlight on Isabel because Katherine Heigl is, I think she's an extraordinary actor. Like I love 27 Dresses, Bride of Chucky, Knocked Up. I've always loved Katherine Heigl, and I want to see what we can do with her. Um, we built her up as this alien dream girl. Let's play with that a little bit. I'm not saying deconstruct it, but I would like the second and third season to maybe weaponize that. You know, what if we weaponized the crushes of our teenage years? What if we weaponized those kind of nostalgic fantasies or the fantasies of nostalgia itself? I think we can do a lot of cool things with Isabel. I loved her to death. She had a great deal of feminine sensitivity to her that I thought was just wow, fucking wonderful to interact with. Michael is very cool. Michael's lovely. Takes a minute to get over that fucking hair, but I love it. I love the hair. It's just holy shit, man. Holy shit. Michael's our hot-headed little wild card, love and death. We get to investigate a lot of cool things from Michael, including abuse. He is certainly our character below the poverty line, and I always like seeing that sort of representation within these shows. It doesn't happen too often. I like that Michael is unpredictable and dangerous, and I actually like the chemistry he had with Maria a lot. Maria, kind of annoying, not gonna lie, kind of an annoying character, but whenever she's around Michael, I like what she brings out of Michael. I like the sensitivity that is kind of not effortlessly pulled, like she has to fucking yank the sensitivity out of the kid because he's so stubborn, because he's been so emotionally and physically hurt all his life. Uh, when she's in his arms, he feels found. The part where his adoptive father is beating him, and he goes over to Maria's house, and she lets him in, and it's like it was raining, and then it takes her a minute to realize that that's not just those aren't just raindrops; those are teardrops. He's crying, and she cradles him all night like a baby, just like how Max's life truly started when he exposed himself within the Crashdown Cafe by saving Liz. I like to believe that Michael's life truly started being cradled like an infant in the bed by the first person that he ever was open with emotionally. First woman he ever opened up to. I wish Isabel had a huge emotional moment like that too, but she's really not that kind of character. I'm not saying it's like she's cold, but like that's the exterior that she presents, and we do get a lot of times where a lot of opportunities to see the sensitivities beneath that cold exterior. It's just we didn't have that huge moment of like the other two, I think, in their own way decided to take the reins, take control of their own lives. And I wanted some big rejection from Isabel as well. We got close a few times, but she never had that grand moment. So I'm hoping season two. I'm just obsessed with Katherine Heigl. So I'm hoping that season two gives me a lot more Katherine Heigl and a lot more things for her to do. You know, I hope I hope that I don't know, network execs, Jason Katims himself, or the general public were like, we love Isabel. Give us more Isabel. Give us everything Isabel. I wouldn't mind if the show was just about Isabel in the second season. I love you, Max, but you are no Isabel. Colin Hanks is the weak link of the show. I mean, I think he's the most untalented nepo baby I've ever been forced to watch. There's no chemistry between him and Katherine Heigl. He plays Alex. Uh, there's no chemistry at all between Alex and Isabel. It is fucking dumb. It sucks. It sucks, and I don't know why they insist upon that stupid relationship so much. There's nothing there. And Alex, he's not a completely unnecessary character. The most unnecessary character is Kyle, but I like Kyle more than I like Alex. Alex, how about we get a romantic interest for Isabel that isn't completely boring, that isn't the polar opposite of her. Let's get her something interesting. I think that the idea that Michael and Isabel are engineered to be each other's fucking lovers and soulmates, that's interesting. That's cool. I would like to see the kind of drama and the narratives, the many different narratives that could just branch out from exploring that more. I like the idea of Isabel and Michael together too. I like that a lot, actually. I don't like Colin Hanks as an actor. I don't like Alex as a character very much. Alex was just nothing. He was a big old nothing. Kyle was nothing too, but at least Kyle, there's some sort of self-awareness from the actor who played him that makes him a bit more likable. Like, I feel like when we get past like the halfway mark of the season, the actor who played Kyle is like, I'm clearly irrelevant here. No one cares about me as a character. The writers hardly even care. So he's just gonna fucking go for it. It was fun watching Kyle near the end. Kyle's father, William Sadler. Now that man is a national treasure. I love William Sadler. I would say that he is well respected within like cult film and television communities, but not nearly as much as he should be. That man's a legend. He's great and he's so fucking good on Roswell. I love this character. That's what I mean by like these arcs coming to a nearly brilliant completion by the end of this first season. I love how he turns around. I love how he embraces Max and Isabel and Michael. I love how he is on their side by the end, how he is the primary antagonist for most of it until you realize that exploitation, that punishment, isn't localized. It's not the local government or the local police you should be worried about. It's the federal one. It's the largest one possible, and it's elite FBI and CIA units that are hounding you, that are destroying you, that are the true culprits. Everyone's a pawn. Even the big bad wolf that runs your town, he's not. He's nothing. He's nothing compared to what government secrecy could do when challenged. Someone I loved seeing was Julie Benz. I always loved seeing Julie Benz, have a big old crush on her, not ashamed to admit it. Who would be? She's gorgeous and sexy and beautiful and always fun to watch in all these teen dramas. You never want to be Julie Benz on a teen drama, though. Never ends well for her. She played Miss Topolsky here, a kind of undercover FBI agent who I just had a great time being around. I wish we had a little bit more of her, but even in that situation, she gets exposed by the kids, but she gets to come back to the show and complete her arc. Like it's a thoughtful fucking season. It's a very thoughtful season, and oftentimes I was thrilled watching it dance, watching it work because it worked really, really well. But the most interesting thing always with this show, we have to go back to, if you want to talk about interesting analysis, the most interesting point of interest is Max Evans, is rejecting the narrative, is trying his best to express free will, trying his best to be the controller of his destiny, to be in control of his decisions, and not biologically engineered to do so, and not being manipulated into doing certain things by the long, shadowy arm of a government or by anything else that he doesn't quite understand the intentions of, and how almost futile that can seem. And that's what makes him heroic because no matter what, he is trying to fight everything. Every impulse in his body is telling him to be with Tess, is telling him to alienate Liz, Alex, Maria, the humans. Every impulse in his body is telling him to follow destiny, but there's this thing that could only be called the human spirit, right? Or the human condition. The human experience itself kind of fosters this absurd notion within us that We have to rebel against that. Rebel against your destiny. Be who you want to be. Be something, if that's possible. And I keep dwelling on the fact that it most likely is impossible. That's not going to stop postmodern brats like Max from trying so hard to fight against destiny with everything he's got. That's what makes Roswell really interesting. At the end of the season, we kind of have a revelation that Max, Isabel, Tess, Michael, they are biologically engineered alien clones. Like they were aliens mixed with some human DNA to make them kind of present as human, but they are clones of very important figures, public figures and leaders, military ones of an alien planet. And they kind of have like a Superman 1 moment, you know, of like, I don't know, Gar-El or whatever the fuck Marlon Brando's name was in Superman. Kind of have like a holographic image of their mother coming down and kind of giving us all this very necessary exposition. Um, and it felt like a reward after a whole season of wondering what the fuck is going on. That seems to be it, which also has some sort of analytical value as well. Jason Katims, I think, is I don't know if he's a genius of television, but he definitely knows a lot about how to make a good show and clearly knows a lot about archetypes and frameworks and narrative systems. So if these are clones, they're cloned in from sci-fi shows. They're being cloned in from your Star Trek, from the X-Files. They are clones of those, but they are forced to go through the havoc of teen angst. And one of the consequences, one of these effects, the primary effect of teen angst is rebellion. And that's what Max, Isabel, and Michael are going through, each in their own ways. With Max, it's the most virtuous and the most heroic. This show has a lot to offer, and I think I'll have quite a bit more to say on season 2 and season 3. But season 1, I thought there was a lot of greatness here. I was very impressed by it, very entertained consistently, and it's a pretty funny show. There are some really funny lines, a lot of cute, cheeky moments, a great amount of chemistry. The show likes to have quite a few hot moments as well. Like it's even an erotic show. There's a lot to like about this show, and I like just about everything about it. Like I like everything about Roswell. It's very good. Um, okay, Alex is the one thing I don't really like about the show. Colin Hanks is just so fucking unlikable. It's got the most punchable face I've ever seen. I don't know how else to put it. He's just so unlikable. No, thank you. Take it back. I don't want Alex. Take him back. God. Alex is fixable. Everything that I see in the show that was sort of lacking about the first season, these aren't irreparable. You can fix all of these problems very easily. Uh, That's just so cool. That's just so fucking good. But ultimately, right now, we are focused on the things I like to see the most within postmodern teen television, which is a character rejecting the narrative, which in the case of Roswell means rejecting destiny, rebelling against it with everything you've got, even if it's an ultimately hopeless campaign against fate itself. Like I love that. I love that, and we're getting that with Max Evans. And I hope he doesn't give up on Liz. He can't give up on Liz. Who would give up on Liz? She was gorgeous, and she was awesome and adorable. I want to explore more of her. Because then you have to, because as we've established in season 1, and established it beautifully, that Max is rejecting the narrative and trying to have some sort of free will. Uh, what does that mean for Liz then? What does it mean for Maria? Hell, Alex, you can get interesting too. Come on, get in this group. Are you guys just cogs in the wheel? Are you guys completely irrelevant? Are you just pawns in a grander narrative of other narratives, of a bunch of little meta narratives? Is your destiny as important as your boyfriend's? Like, is your destiny as important as the other people's in your lives? Like, I want to see some sort of scale that can measure the weight of two beautiful existential crises, you know? And I think that if anyone can do it, it's the character Liz. Uh, I want her to be equally as significant as Max in her own very human way. you know? Destiny exists for her too. Or maybe she can be that wrecking ball that you need, that gorgeous wrecking ball that just obliterates the idea of destiny. Who would believe fate if it kept you away from the woman that you love? Fuck fate then. I'm extremely excited. There's a lot of cool directions we can go into. A lot of cool directions. I think Liz is going to be a fascinating character to deal with. An even more fascinating character to deal with because I loved her in season one. But I think we're going to lose some of that naivety, which is good, and kind of get to the heart of the matter of her character, and we can properly study her in season two and three. But that's it for me, really. I loved this show. I loved it. It was great. It was really great. I really liked it. Really enjoyed my time in Roswell. Can't wait to be back talking about season two. I'm going to take a nap. I feel exhausted, and hopefully, a little blonde alien enters my dream and makes everything better. I don't know. Thank you for watching my video. Oh, and thank you for watching along with Roswell. If you are, I like having this almost like an art club, like a TV club. But thank you. Can't wait to be back. Oh, the Dido song's rad. The uh the opening sequence is wonderful. It gets the I always love opening sequences, and this opening sequence of Roswell, it gets the mood down perfectly, and it's so atmospheric, and it's erotic. Once again, it's a pretty erotic opening, and I love that Dido song. I won't go. I won't breathe. Like, it's so fucking good. That's all. Thank you.